John is in Texas. Hi, John. Welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hey, Dr. D and Dave. How are you guys doing?
Great. How can we help?
Well, I'll try to keep it brief. 31 years old, baby step 4. Dave, been listening to you since 2016. Going through this journey, I've, paid off all my debt in 18 months and full emergency fund and everything like that. But I just feel like I have something missing in my life, and it's something that I think might be the spirituality side of everything that you teach. I was raised by non-practicing Muslims, and so I never really had any kind of religion or any kind of spirituality in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that's kind of getting bigger and bigger inside of me. And, I don't know if it's that for sure, but I know that I definitely have something missing in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of just wanted to call in and ask Uncle Dave and Uncle Dr. D.
Well, I was pretty much the same way when I was a little bit younger than you, about 24. And I read a quote years later that kind of explained it. Pascal said, in every man there is a God-shaped hole. And sometimes we try to throw things in that hole. People do it with drugs and they become drug addicts. People do it with material things and they become materialistic. People do it with pornography and they become addicted to that, and so on, right? People try everything in the world to fill the hole that really only has one thing that fits in it and properly, and that is the spiritual walk. It is God. And that made sense to me when I heard it, and I was sitting in a seat similar to the one you're sitting in right now. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So it's natural, in other words, to kind of have this, everything's going along, it seems like I'm doing well, but there still feels like something's missing. That's a fairly natural thing. That's the way we're designed. And that's what I discovered anyway. I was in my mid-20s, early 20s when I discovered that. You're a touch older, but than I was at that time. So, and the same situation, I didn't grow up in a Muslim, non-practicing Muslim home, but we weren't church people, so to speak. And so, good people, nothing wrong with the morals or anything like that. That's not the point. But the point was this whole discussion wasn't something that ever came up. So I did what you're doing, and I kind of went on a quest, and I started trying to learn about it, and I tried to find people that weren't kooky, that actually made sense when they were talking about spiritual things. And some of them are kookier than crud, I'll just tell you. But I found, some people that were fairly level-headed and would walk me through it, and I became introduced to the Bible, and I started reading that, and I started going to a non-kooky church.
There are 7 of those across the country. 7.
And warning you ahead of time. I mean, because I have discovered in 40 years of doing this stuff that there's nothing kookier than a kooky Christian. So, but yeah, so I would tell you to try to poke around. Do you have any good friends that you feel like in your circle that are that could maybe give you recommendations? Maybe they're not up to coaching you on this subject, but they could say, hey, I'll hook you up with this guy, this pastor over here I know is a really good guy, and he can answer some questions for you. Do you know anybody like that?
I do. I just feel like at the same time, I'm kind of resisting it. It's almost like I feel like I'm missing it in my life, but I'm also afraid, because I'm afraid if I, for example, turn to Christianity, which is actually the most I know about any religion, is because listening through you, that I would maybe be judged by, family.
Oh, you would be. You would be. I don't think there's any question about that.
And that's not even it's accelerated. I mean, it's more prominent because of your family's heritage. But as Dave mentioned,
I don't think that means
Christians feel that too.
But Christians feel that too when they I mean, if
you go from a Catholic church to a Baptist church, or I'm going to go to a different Baptist church on the street, that's just whenever you decide to really go on a journey to find out who you are and why you're disconnected, people around you don't understand that.
There's always going to be someone that goes, well, that's not the way, you know, and well, this is my journey. This is my walk. And so, I mean, some of my old beer drinking buddies that I used to raise hell with didn't understand, you know. Different religion, right? But they didn't understand. They're like, what? What happened to you, man? Well, you're no fun anymore, man. I'm like, yeah, I'm more fun, but in a different way.
That's right.
So I got my crap together finally. So,
but your fear, John, is you're standing over the precipice and you're looking over the edge of a cliff, and you know, if I take this step, there's a chance that everything that I know is different. It's normal to be scared of that.
Yeah.
That's what bravery is. And bravery is not going to battle when you know the outcome. It's knowing that I'm scared, I'm going to go do it anyway.
But, you know, I think why don't you sit down and maybe write out 4 or 5 things that you need the answer to. That doesn't mean you necessarily, start wearing around a shirt that says I'm a Baptist or something. You're just starting to get some answers. And one of them might be, how to handle, some negative input from people in your past. And I think that's pretty standard anytime anyone makes any kind of shift. I mean, I've known people that just changed denominations, and because their whole social structure was tied up in their denomination and everything else, and people are like, they think they're the only ones going to heaven is that particular denomination, and then, and they rule you out, and so I've known that to happen, and so, you've got they would have to ask the same question is my point. And so, but I don't think there's any requirement that because you asked someone 5 or 6 questions over coffee 3 times, that all of a sudden you got sucked into something. I don't think there's a requirement of that. If you'll gather more information, you'll start to see things more clearly and more than we can give you on Run Radio Call, truthfully.
And John, can I burst your bubble before we hang up?
Yes, sir.
Avoiding this is not going to make it go away. That hole doesn't go away by running from it.
Man, I've been avoiding it.
I know you have. I can hear it in you. I'm just telling you, that feeling you feel, that emptiness, that disconnect.
You're afraid if you step over into the tractor beam, it's going to suck you in. And like you're going to lose control or something. And you never, our faith anyway, you never lose your choice. You've always got a choice. You get to decide. There's no mind-sucking amoeba that takes your brain out and then you're not allowed to make choices anymore. You still will make the choice all the way along the rest of your life, no matter what. That doesn't stop at any point. So you don't have to be afraid about this getting out of control, so to speak. If it gets out of control, it's because you chose to take steps. And no one made you do anything along that way. So if I were you, I'd talk to one of your buddies that's got a real good pastor. What city in Texas are you in?
Dallas.
Okay, great. Very cool.
There's a church on every 11th foot. Right?
Yes, sir.
You know where that is.
Yeah, there's tons of great places around there, and we've got lots of friends there that we could hook you up to if you need to, too. But I would just find somebody and continue the journey, continue asking questions. Because John's right, this has been awakened inside of you, and until you get the questions answered, it's going to scratch and claw at your heart, and that's a good thing.
Go be brave.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm proud of you. If you want to talk some more, call me back anytime.